Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I never thought a simple dinner at home could feel so strange. The smell of roasted chicken lingered in the kitchen. Soft music hummed in the background, and yet everything felt wrong. My name is Lucas, I'm 38, and I've been married to Claire for 12 years. Or at least I thought I had been. That night something subtle shifted, and suddenly, I wasn't sure what I had at all. Claire was sitting across from me, her fork barely touching the food on her plate. Usually she'd be laughing at some small joke I made, teasing me about my old college habits, but tonight her eyes were distant. I sipped my wine slowly, trying to shake off the unease, but it wasn't going away. Then she said it. In a whisper, almost afraid someone might overhear. I should have married Bryan. I froze for a moment, my fork hovering in midair. Bryan. The name she hadn't mentioned in years. The guy she'd dated before me in college. The one she always insisted was just a phase. My heart didn't race. Not like it would in a movie. Not even like it did the first time we'd kissed. Instead, a strange calm settled over me. I leaned back, smiled lightly, and said, "Maybe you still can." Claire blinked like she hadn't expected me to reply at all, let alone like that. Her lips parted slightly, and for a moment, I thought she might laugh or cry or even storm out of the room, but none of that happened. She just stared, the fork trembling slightly in her hand, unsure of what to do next. I don't think she realized it, but her words carried weight that I hadn't known existed between us. She wasn't angry or bitter. She wasn't trying to hurt me, at least not consciously. It was a confession of longing, regret, maybe even curiosity. And somehow, instead of panicking, instead of feeling betrayed, I felt clarity. We hadn't fought, hadn't argued, hadn't screamed. Our marriage, for the most part, had been steady, comfortable, predictable. There were days when I felt invisible, times when I worried she no longer appreciated me. But this was different. This was her heart speaking, and I could choose to let it break me. Or I could choose to listen, really listen, and see what it meant. I set down my fork and leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. "Claire," I said softly, "I've been wondering, for a while now, if there's something missing between us. Something you're searching for. Maybe it's not me." Her eyes widened, the slightest flicker of guilt passing through them. She shook her head slowly. "No, Lucas, it's not about you. You've been amazing. Sometimes I think about what could have been, with him, the choices I made, the paths I didn't take." I nodded, listening carefully. My mind wandered back to those college years, to the carefree days when we were young and everything seemed possible. Bryan had been a part of that world, funny, reckless, charming in ways I couldn't compete with back then. But he was also unpredictable, unstable, and eventually Claire chose me, chose stability, reliability, someone who would be there through the boring, hard, messy parts of life. "Then maybe it's not too late," I said. My voice was calm, deliberate, almost teasing, but with an edge of truth. "Maybe you still can. Not with him, of course, but with whatever you need, even if it's just for a little while to figure it out." Claire's mouth opened, then closed. She didn't laugh, didn't shout, didn't storm off. She just looked at me, this mixture of shock, disbelief, and something softer, something like hope. And in that moment, I realized why I hadn't reacted with anger or jealousy. Because life isn't about controlling the past. Life is about understanding the present, navigating the unexpected, and choosing how you respond. For the next few minutes, silence stretched across the table. Not heavy, not suffocating, but thoughtful. I could feel her tension easing slightly. Her hand twitched as she reached for the wine, and I took a slow breath, letting the air fill the spaces between us. It wasn't forgiveness or reconciliation or even a promise. It was just acknowledgement. And that acknowledgement mattered more than I could explain. We spoke next about small things, work, the groceries we needed, the dog's visit to the vet, but every word carried the subtle weight of what had just been said. I noticed the way her eyes softened when she laughed at a small joke, the way her hand grazed mine ever so slightly when she passed the napkins. It was different now. The undercurrent of desire, regret, curiosity, it was all there quietly threading through our conversation. I didn't rush anything. I didn't force a discussion about Bryan or why she thought about him or what she really wanted. I let the moment exist in its own strange, fragile bubble, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a relationship isn't to argue or explain. It's to listen. to observe and to let the other person find their own clarity. And in that calm, watching her, I realized something crucial. Life isn't always about stopping regret or denying past choices. Sometimes it's about letting the other person feel it, experience it, and see what they truly want. And in that process, you discover your own strength, your own boundaries, and sometimes even a surprising form of intimacy. Over the next few days, the tension didn't vanish, but it shifted. Claire moved around the house with a lighter step, and I noticed her glancing at me more often. Not with guilt, but with curiosity. I kept my responses measured, calm, letting her feel the space between us without filling it with questions or accusations. One evening, as we were folding laundry together in the quiet of the living room, she hesitated, holding a t-shirt in her hands. "Lucas, about what I said the other night," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't interrupt. I just nodded, letting her words find their way. She stopped, took a deep breath. "I don't know why I said it. Maybe I was trying to test something, my feelings, us. I didn't expect you to take it." So calmly. I smiled faintly, a mixture of amusement and understanding. "Sometimes the calm says more than the words you wish you had," I replied. "You wanted to see if I'd react, if I'd change, if I'd fight for something that's already ours. And I did exactly what I should have done. I listened." She looked at me then, her eyes glistening slightly. There was a vulnerability there I hadn't seen in years. A reminder of the girl I married, the woman who made my world feel lighter in the simplest ways. And yet, there was still that trace of longing, that thread of what could have been. Over the following week, we didn't have long talks or emotional confessions. Instead, we let our actions speak. I made dinner one night just the way she liked it. No fanfare, no expectation of praise. She brought home flowers for the kitchen counter the next day, smiling shyly as she placed them in the vase. It was small gestures, tiny signals of connection, yet somehow more profound than any argument or declaration. And then, one rainy Saturday afternoon, as we sat on the couch watching a film neither of us was particularly interested in, she leaned her head against my shoulder. "I thought about him," she murmured. "Bryan, I was curious, I guess. But it made me realize, I'm here, with you, and that's what matters." I felt a weight lift from my chest, not because I had won some battle or silenced a regret, but because she had chosen clarity. She hadn't made the choice under pressure, under guilt, or because of fear. She had chosen consciously, after feeling what could have been and understanding what she truly valued. "I'm glad," I said softly, tilting my head to brush her hair away from her face. "Because that's all anyone can really do, be present, be steady, and let life show you the truth." She laughed quietly, the sound warm, real, filling the empty spaces that had existed between us for months. And in that laughter I felt a subtle shift, not dramatic. Not a fireworks explosion, but the steady flicker of understanding, intimacy, and mutual respect. That night, as we prepared for bed, I reflected on the past weeks. Relationships aren't always about grand gestures, heated confrontations, or dramatic reconciliations. Sometimes they are about weathering the quiet storms, enduring the unspoken tensions, and allowing space for honesty, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel. I realized something else, too. My initial calm, my willingness to listen instead of react, had changed the dynamic entirely. By not fighting her words, by not trying to control her thoughts or desires, I gave her the freedom to face her own feelings, and in turn, allowed myself to maintain dignity and clarity. That balance, that measured response, is what had preserved the bond that might have otherwise frayed beyond repair. In the days that followed, our conversations became more natural again. We laughed at old jokes, reminisced about trips we'd taken, and slowly, subtly, the affection that had quietly eroded over the years began to rekindle. Not because everything was perfect now, but because honesty had replaced uncertainty, and respect had replaced tension. A week later, she looked at me one evening and said, "You know, I don't regret being with you. I never did. Bryan, he's part of the past. You're my present." I smiled, feeling the warmth of that truth. "And you're mine," I replied. Not possessively, not aggressively, but firmly, with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that love, respect, and patience often speak louder than arguments, jealousy, or regrets. That night, as we lay side by side, I thought about all the years we had been together, the choices we had made, the paths we didn't take, and the unexpected challenges that life had thrown our way. And I understood finally that a relationship doesn't thrive because mistakes are avoided. It thrives because people are willing to face them, together or apart, with honesty and clarity. Sometimes, the whispers of regret are not meant to hurt, but to remind us of what matters, to test the strength of the bond, and to reveal the courage required to accept reality. That night, as Claire drifted off to sleep beside me, I felt that courage quietly, deeply within myself. And I knew that no matter what whispers may come in the future, we had discovered a clarity and intimacy that could survive them all. Because love isn't about never wondering what could have been. It's about choosing every day what truly matters and having the wisdom to let the past remain where it belongs, while embracing the present fully, with calm, clarity, and trust.